Move on to global affairs for a moment. Ukrainian President Zelenskyy and European leaders are heading to the White House. They are due to meet with President Trump. That'll be later today. And that is in response to his Friday summit with the Russian President, Vladimir Putin. Eamon Javers is at the White House and has the latest for us. Eamon.
David, as you say, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is expected here at the White House later today to help chart a path forward in the wake of those failed talks between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday. Also present, as you say, are going to be the leaders of 5 European countries who are part of a coalition of the willing backing Ukraine against the Russian invasion. Now, sources told NBC News over the weekend that President Trump engaged with President Zelenskyy and European leaders by phone early Saturday morning about the U.S. being party to a potential NATO-like security guarantee for Ukraine as part of a deal struck with Russia. Such security guarantees have been a key demand of the Ukrainians as part of any deal to end the fighting. Zelenskyy took to social media to set some expectations for today, writing, "I am grateful to @POTUS for the invitation. We all share a strong desire to end this war quickly and reliably, and peace must be lasting, not like it was years ago when Ukraine was forced to give up Crimea and part of our east, part of Donbass, and Putin simply used it as a springboard for a new attack, or when Ukraine was given so-called security guarantees in 1994, but they didn't work." Now take a look here at the list of European attendees at the White House today. It is a set of power hitters here. The President of Finland will be here. The Chancellor of Germany will be here. The President of the European Commission, the NATO Secretary General, the Prime Minister of the UK, the Prime Minister of Italy, the President of France, all in the building here at the White House today. And the question for all those leaders is whether they can craft NATO-like security guarantees for Ukraine that are enough like NATO to reassure the Ukrainians that they're real, and yet not so much like NATO that they're a non-starter for the Russian side, which feels very much threatened by the presence of NATO on their frontier. Guys, back over to you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that seems contingent on European leaders' willingness or fortitude to supply troops to back up any kind of Article 5-like measure. There's some comments out of Germany this morning that maybe they might be a little too stretched to provide those boots on the ground as opposed to, say, the British.
Yeah, and then the question here is, in terms of the geostrategic implications of that, do you want NATO or Western forces backing up a Ukrainian security situation and engaging in direct combat with Russians in a year or 2 years' time? That is something that throughout the Cold War, NATO avoided. You know, the Cold War was a war of proxies, not a war of direct confrontation between the West and Russia, for fear that any such confrontation could lead to nuclear holocaust. The idea is you just can't have NATO troops and Russian troops fighting face to face because that can escalate very dangerously. And so the question here is, what kind of security guarantees are real and practical for Ukraine, but not so much that they're going to cause the Russians to walk away from that deal? That's very tricky. And of course, this is the first time Zelenskyy has been here since that confrontation with Trump and J.D. Vance in the Oval Office earlier this year. So people are sort of walking around, on tenterhooks, waiting to see what's going to happen here. Does this relationship blow up again, or is this a moment of real strength and unity? We'll see.
Yeah, that was the other contrast in photos over the weekend. The pictures from that Oval meeting in February where Zelenskyy was essentially berated versus the red carpet, the literal red carpet rollout that Putin got on Friday. Eamon will be with you all day watching these developments in a series of meetings at the White House.